Baby, oh baby, what do we have here? Someone is trying to disappear from the eye of production, from the eye of strife.
Hi friends, my name is Mackenzie, also known as Emtothethird on Instagram, Ravelry, and YouTube, and this is episode 17 of the Emtothethird Knitting Podcast. I'm coming to you from Boston, Massachusetts, where spring is like descending, but not quite here yet. Usually the beginning of March is not a guarantee to be spring. One year at the beginning of April, we were still having snow, and then another year we were in shorts and a t-shirt outside eating tacos. So it really, it's wild. And I think on Saturday I saw in the forecast we might be getting a little bit of snow overnight, but we really have had a very mild winter. Despite that, I am feeling restless. I don't know if any of you relate to feeling like winter restless, where like I want to be out and doing things, but I'm also so sick of being cold. And yeah, I've never experienced it quite so strongly. I think because we had like a 60-degree day in January, and I like pulled out all my seeds and was like, oh, what am I gonna plant in the garden? And was thinking about it, and I'm like, when did I plant seeds last year? And I looked and it was like at the beginning of April. And I was like, oh no, it's so early. So I've been doing other things to kind of appease that like green need, if you will. Like accumulating some houseplants, doing some composting, which I think I mentioned last video, which I've been really into. It's a type of composting that you can do in a small space called bokashi composting. So we have these barrels in our kitchen that we put food scraps in. We feed it with bran that has like lactobacillus, which is like a bacteria that ferments the food, and then I'll plant that basically in our garden, and it'll help revitalize the soil because it composts like the rest of the way. So that's a way that I've been kind of like keeping up. And I've also been baking with a sourdough starter. So I had a couple unsuccessful loaves of bread. I think I think I know what went wrong, but I'm trying to keep positive about that. But I've had a bunch of successful things too. So I made this last weekend some English muffins, which were delicious, and kept Kay and I fed like all weekend, which was so cool. And then I also made, so you can save the discard. So basically how a sourdough starter works, in case you don't know, is that you put water and flour into a cup, and you basically let it sit for like at room temperature, just out on your counter. I do cover it with like a towel, and there's yeast and bacteria in the environment, and if you keep feeding it with new flour and water, those yeast start to kind of like wake up and eat, and then basically let out carbon dioxide, which creates bubbles, and that can replace the need for the type of yeast that you would buy at the grocery store. It's pretty amazing. And it's just like a fun way to experiment with cooking. Sourdough is just a very unique flavor. So yeah, that's been really, really fun. So, right, what I was getting to though, is that, so I now have this starter that sits in my kitchen. My kitchen gets very cold, so I've actually had it on like a seed warmer, which will keep it about like 65 to 70 degrees, maybe a little higher sometimes. And so it sits on there and it basically bubbles, and every day I take out 50%, sometimes a little bit more of it, and you can do a lot of things with it. So you can just throw it away, because it's the same type of bacteria that's in my bokashi compost. I like will put it also in the compost, but it's also like a little messy because it's like a liquid. So I will also keep that, which is basically just like sourdough starter. And then I put that in the fridge and I leave it. And when I have about a cup of it, there's a great recipe, which I can link down below, for basically like herby crackers. And so I've been making crackers and like eating them with cheese and hummus, and it's just like kind of a cool way to like reduce waste. I don't know, I'm just like really enjoying it and it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's like what I've been doing to kind of fill myself up in the midst of like just cold stretching on and on. But I did finally start my seeds, and I've decided that I'm going to start a new series on here that's going to be about my little garden plot that's in the backyard, and just like talk about my dye garden. So I think I'll be releasing, I mean, stuff in the garden can kind of, it doesn't necessarily move fast, right? Everything is a little slow. Same with sourdough. Like things, you know, can take a prolonged period of time to change. So I've been thinking about ways that I can like engage with the garden and share it, to keep myself really invested in it, and to show you basically the process of starting from seed and going to a dye bath and dyeing some wool. So yeah, I think that'll be a fun experiment. I'm growing indigo for the first time, also some marigolds, which I've grown many times, and some indigenous sunflowers called the Hopi black dye sunflower. So I've had like varying success growing those in the past. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on that. You'll definitely see when the first episode comes out. And yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. I just have been busy with work and knitting very like intentionally, so I don't have a ton. I mean, I have a lot of progress made, but not on very many projects. But I'm very excited for both of the projects that I am working on. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't have any finished objects because, again, I've been working on 2 sweaters and just kind of like having a very singular vision towards finishing them. And I'm definitely getting close. So, so the first one that I've been working on for a while is the juniper sweater, and I just started a new ball of yarn. I was working on it today during a meeting, and there's like there's a significant chunk of it done. It's like in the middle of a row. But yeah, I did like that much during a meeting today, which does make a difference when it's only like 13 inches or something until the underarm. I don't remember. Maybe that's not right. Don't quote me. So yeah, that's definitely coming along. I think I'm debating blocking it while it's still on the needles, because I did that for the back, which is a lace panel. Oh, that's in the living room, so. And stretching it out to the width that it's going to be really took away some of the length, so I want to just make sure that I'm staying on track. But yeah, I'm like very excited to wear it. I think it will kind of transition a little bit into spring, even though it is like very woolly wool. You know, the back lace, and it still gets chilly here. So yeah, I'm working on that. And then I am also working on, so last week I said the name of this pattern and I said it incorrectly, and then I corrected it in like a little description box, and I also corrected it incorrectly. So sorry if I confused anyone, but the sweater that I'm working on is the Petite Knitters cotton grass jumper. And I showed you last week a version where, or last episode, a version where I was worried about the color, the dyed color and the natural color of the wool not having enough contrast. And you may have seen on Instagram that I did decide to go with the darker color because it was just like, you couldn't really see what was happening, and I really wanted to make sure that it was seen. So this is my progress on it. I just finished the yoke color work and separated for the sleeves, and that's what it looks like. It's really beautiful. And this yarn is my yarn that I dye. I've been talking about it a lot. It is not available yet. I'm working on some samples, and it'll be available for purchase and probably also pre-order. So I'm just getting all my ducks in a row for that, but it's coming. It's just, man, it's tough to have a full-time job and also you know, have a small business. But I did want to talk about a couple of changes that I made to the pattern. So the pattern calls for casting on and then knitting ribbing and then ending the ribbing and then continuing on with the color work yoke design. And I was looking at some of the photos of like project pages and whatnot, and I just felt like the way that it sat on the back and just the looseness of the ribbing, I wasn't a fan of. I think that picking up and then knitting ribbing just looks a little cleaner. That's my preference. So I decided to go to the total number of stitches after the first increase, which wasn't huge. I think it was, well, I can't remember, but anyway, I went to that number, cast that on, knit a couple rows, and then started the color work, and then at the end I'll go in and pick up stitches and do the ribbing, which it's my preference that looks better. The other thing is that it has short row shaping, so a lot of color work yoke sweaters like this will do short row shaping either just up here, so like basically before any of the color work starts, or it will do it after all of the color work is done. And the purpose of that, if you don't know, is because it will lower, like the way our neck sits, it's just lower here than in the back. So if you have them both at the same height, you're gonna kind of get like it's gonna kind of choke you and rub against here. So what I did was I just felt like it was barely an inch, I think, the suggested number of short rows, and I just felt like that wouldn't be enough for me to feel comfortable. So I added 6 extra ones in the colorwork design. So this is the back, and here there's like a bit of a gap, and then on the front there is less of a gap. See how this is kind of a zigzag, and on the edge here we can kind of see that there's like a little bit of a wedge. Well, I don't know if you can. So it's kind of like here. So anyway, I don't know if I was able to show that very well, but so anyway, I added 6 extra short rows for a total of 12 rows extra at the back, and I think that's going to make a big difference for my comfort in wearing it. I'm also knitting with 2 balls at the same time and alternating every row with the helical knitting method, which I've done a tutorial of, and if you are curious about it, click up there and you can see what I mean. And this is Liminal, which is the yarn that I had milled for me in New York, and this is the color Pearl Jam. P-U-R-L Jam. Get it? She got dad jokes, you know how it goes. So that's basically my knitting, which is like, it's quite a bit. I mean, I made quite a bit of progress on a sweater in about 2 weeks, so I feel good about that. I also want to talk about the Emtothethird make-along. So this month is a little bit different than the first 2. And this is kind of what I've been envisioning, and it seems to be working out, which is that basically like we're sort of sectioning it into quarters. So the first quarter was all about kind of thinking about wardrobe and like assessing what you currently have. And then we're coming up with goals to kind of veer the creation of our closets into a more sustainable place. And so we came up with 3 goals, and then in addition to those goals, there were 4 things that we could kind of hit on, which would be incorporating something naturally dyed or naturally dyeing something yourself, mending something that is in your wardrobe, assessing a work in progress and deciding whether to rip it out or to just finish it. And then the last one was, of course, use something from your stash. So, so the first month was a wardrobe assessment and all of those things. The second month was kind of breaking down all of those goals. So if you wanted to make sure that 25% of your wardrobe was handmade, look at how many things you have, how many things are already handmade, and how many things you would have to replace or add or whatever it was to get to that 25%. And then that was what we could work towards over the next 10 months. So March, which is the end of the first quarter of the make-along, not yet, at the end of this month, is what I'm hashtagging Mend It March. And basically, I'm going to be providing different tutorials for mending every week. So I've already released the first one, which is about darning. So if you have a sock or a little cardigan that has a hole in it, go ahead and follow the link to the tutorial and try it out for yourself. And I just want to urge that my philosophy is like never to do something perfectly. It is so much better to try something, and chances are you won't make it worse than it already is. Which might sound ridiculous, but it's true. You know, if your sock has a hole in it and you do something to kind of make sure that that hole doesn't get bigger, whether that is mending it or whether that is darning it, whether it is just sewing it up or whatever it is, or whatever, it's going to make a difference, and that is going to stay out of a landfill. It's going to stay out of, you know, it's going to just last longer on your feet, which is the goal. So please give it a try, even if you're like, I can't do it. I promise you can, and it's going to make a difference. So please share your mended objects, whether it's darning, whether it's patching, sashiko, and I'll be providing, again, weekly different tutorials that you can follow. So I did want to share with you some of my darned socks. So this is the one from the video. I did a little contrast stripe just so you could see it a little bit better, but this is definitely a well-loved pair of socks, and I'm happy that I was able to use it as a demonstration and to continue to wear them. So that's one. I've also been working on this very big hole. I actually gave up. Not gave up completely, I just had to put it down because it's a lot. It's like the whole heel. So I'm gonna do another patch over this, but it's looking pretty good. I'm like happy that these socks aren't going to disintegrate, and I've already added a patch on the toe of this sock and the heel of this one. So they're gonna get quite a bit more use, which I love. These ones are kind of special to me because they were the first sock, like the first project I knit after moving to Boston, and the houses were really like representative of trying to make a home here for me. And then I think I might have shared these ones. I do share them in the tutorial, but I did this amazing darning that is just slightly contrasting. These socks were the first pair of socks that I knit after starting to knit exclusively continental, and they my gauge loosened up so much that they're pretty big, but I still wear them, and they're great in boots and then in the heel of this one too. So I'm doing it along with you, and that's also part of my goal, is to make sure all of my, so I'm doing this with you. I just want to make sure you're all feeling encouraged and supported, and that we can chat about, you know, what's going on. So that's how the make along's going. I have been loving your posts, loving the conversations in the Slack channel. If you have a specific mending tutorial that you'd be interested in seeing, please leave a comment down below. I've recorded 3 so far, but there's still room for 1 to 2. So if there's, you know, if you're curious about sewing on buttons, if you're curious about mending like a hole in the knee of a pair of pants or what have you, I really want to hear about it, and I'd love to help you be able to do that so we can keep some more clothes out of the landfill. Okay, so the last thing, which I might have mentioned already. Did I already say last thing? This is the actual last thing, and maybe the most exciting piece of information, which is that I've decided to plan a slightly impromptu trip to Portland, Oregon. If you would like to meet up, because I know a number of you from the Make Along are located in Portland, Oregon, please join the Slack channel, which is linked down below, and we will all convene at a place to make together, which I'm very excited about, to meet some of you in person. I feel like we've been Instagram friends for like over a year, and yeah, I'm very excited to have a vacation, go to Portland, and to see friends, and hopefully to see you. So that being said, I think that's a wrap for episode 17. If you want to get notified next time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell. It really helps me out a lot and makes it possible for me to make more videos and content for you all. So I'll see you sooner than the next episode in my Dye Garden update video and in the tutorials and on Slack. So thanks for watching. Bye.